isn't any greater than knowing where we are today as a church. So, as I moderate this, I'll just kind of let you guys take it where you wish to some degree. The call committee wanted to look at the present. Where are we? How do we see ourselves? You know, what are we doing well? Where do we want to go? So those are kind of some of the topics that we thought would be good for us to discuss. Another thing that we discussed was, you know, finances, and we handed out the latest statement, and I'll ask Shirley to kind of go through it and just kind of give you an idea of where we are right this moment. And if you have any questions, now's the time to bring those up. But that's part of who we are, where we are, and, you know, kind of looking at our future. So that's part of what the call committee was looking for us to be aware of as we go forward. So Dorothy, do you have any words of wisdom?
Well, if y'all want to look at this side, the income and expense statement, we're exactly at a half year. Now, every year we prepare a budget that is approved by the congregation, and that is in the annual budget figure on the last column. The 6 months budget, of course, is half of what the annual is. Then we have our current month expenses, income and expense, and the actual year to date. As you can see down at the bottom, our budget is a deficit budget, but we are doing very well. We should be at, according to the budget, at $6,200 deficit. We're only at $1,400 deficit. Every year we do budget, and it comes out as a deficit. But every year, through the grace of God and all of you, we seem to do okay, somehow. Of course, the budget is a crystal ball, and we are doing well. Part of our budget is the Head Start. Without them, we'd be in a really bad pickle. But fortunately, we have them. I think they're going to stay here for a while. They do help us. Our expenses run pretty close to what we budget, which is good. The opposite side shows us what our current financial status is. At the end of June, we had $113 in the bank for our general operating fund. In our building fund, what I consider a building fund, we have different programs. We have the Memorial Fund, the Fellowship, Youth and Women's Fellowship, the rummage sale proceeds, the roof repairs. We had a hailstorm come through here last year. We have received the $34,000 for hail damage. Once the roof is repaired, we will get more funds, probably about $15,000 or $18,000. That should complete the roof repairs for the A-frame. The flat roof, we're going to have to do something about, and the, what do y'all call yourself? General maintenance group or whatever. They're looking into repairing or doing something about those flat roofs. They're a pain in the you-know-what, and have been for years. We will probably be having a campaign to do something about that once we figure out what we can do and what the cost would be. We will have a capital campaign fund going. In previous years, we've always had very good success with any capital campaign needs. We do have other funds, which we keep the Head Start funds separate, but then transfer them into the general fund as we need them. We try to keep about $10,000 in that Head Start fund for any needs that could occur at that facility. They have been very, very good about doing repairs and stuff themselves, but there's going to come a time where we're going to have to be responsible for some of it. And so we try to keep at least $10,000 in there, and I'm going to try to up it to $15,000 if I can this year. They pay a monthly rental, and they pay a portion of utility cost because it's not separated, and it would be prohibitive to try to separate the utility costs. So they pay a portion of our utility. And the other item on here is the testament funds. Several years ago, many years ago, we had a gentleman who left over $200,000 as a scholarship fund, and the church is in charge of that. We keep, he requested that we keep $200,000 as principal, and we can give out the excess interest earned in scholarships. We have done that over the past, what, Dorothy, 25 years?
Yeah.
And we have, I believe, given out about $60,000 in scholarships. Yeah, but that was at a time when we were earning quite a bit of interest. Now it's low. We haven't given out any in the past couple of years, but this is there are some CDs that are not on here, and it is about $205,000 now. So, and the other thing is, okay, we also had some other estate givings. We have spent about $35,000 that was given to us by two different people in assisting with the upkeep of the facilities here. But we also have one now. Originally was about $145,000. It's up to probably 154 over the years. We have said that that is to be used for capital improvements here. But if we can keep that intact, or most of it intact, we would like to do that because, like I said, we have spent quite a bit. So when we need repairs, we would like for everyone to participate and be a part of the repairs of this church. So we probably will have a capital campaign fund. But that's coming. But overall, this church has been very, very successful. When I started here about 35 years ago with my husband, he had been going here. The church was in financial straits, but through the help of God, we've been able to pull it out. And we may not be overly endowed, but we have stayed the course. And if y'all have any questions, I hope from now on, and we did this at one time, every month I have a packet that's given to the council of the financial conditions of the church. I'm hoping that we can include a sheet like this to all of you with the newsletter. It can be an attachment to the newsletter. You think we can do that, Tom?
Yeah, I think this newsletter that just went out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so everybody will know where this is your money. This is your money. And I try to give you as much information as I can, and I'm always available at any time if you have any questions. Okay, did you have a question?
The air conditioner that broke, how much did that end up costing and where did y'all pull that from?
That was $6,600, which was a very good price.
Right.
I had excess money in the Head Start Management Fund. I pulled it out of there and it still left us with $9,100. And I should be able to build that back up to at least the $10,000 soon. Okay?
Xavier, why don't you go first? I want to make a couple of comments.
Yeah, I just had a question about the Samoan contribution. Is that a fixed thing or?
Currently, yes, they pay us $500 a month
Is that
for
based-
rent, the use of the facility and the air and
is our
stuff like that.
included
It is negotiable in their contract.
Every year,
And
right?
it may be something the council needs to approach shortly.
If I recall from when we were setting up the agreement with the Samoan Church, we set it at that low number because that congregation had never had to pay for facilities before, so they themselves, I don't think were exactly aware of how much they could pay. However, they've been paid in advance. They paid several months in advance.
Twice they paid in advance.
Sure. So we might be able to.
And I'm just thinking of just the use of the facility, the electric, and that type
Right.
of thing,
And
which
we
probably is
weren't-
greater than what we anticipated.
Yeah, we weren't sure about, what the actual cost would be. It's kind of hard to estimate, but yes, John?
I just wanted to mention, the maintenance committee is going to be meeting this week, and the Samoan congregation will have a representative there, and they fully intend, from what I understand, to assist us with yard care, other maintenance issues around the building, so that's kind of something that might need to be considered,
Right.
If we're considering upping the rent, we might also be, might consider the contributions that they're going to be providing.
Yeah.
It's important to note that
Building.
they have over the past few months consistently been helping out with the yard. Did significant help with the rummage sale and so forth, and the garden as well. So the vision that we originally had, that Jerry had, was that that we would ultimately be sister congregations, or he called it a quote unquote marriage, and then that's kind of what it's like on paper for insurance purposes. But John has an incredibly important point there. That's something that we will need to consider.
A couple of things. Our time is so limited in doing this, and in fact, Lawrence and I have talked about, is this hour together talking about our present situation going to be adequate in preparation for the call process? We might consider extending this time, but having said that, there are a couple of new people who came into worship this morning, and we dragged kicking and screaming. Melinda, could you just say a word about yourself?
Sorry. My name is Melinda Charles. I lived here for about 3 years. Grew up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, but most of my adult life so far after university at Michigan State in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Hey!
Born in Duluth and raised in St. Cloud.
Right. And so I've been looking for a church. I'm a little bit disillusioned with Christians these days.
Join the club.
Aren't we all? So, here's what happened. I think I went on your church's website, and somebody put a post about how to do therapy in the age of Trump. I said, oh my gosh, that's on your website.
How to do therapy in the age of
So I'm gonna give him a try. So here I am.
All of a sudden, my mind is a blank. I want Phil, that's not right.
No, it's not right. But I'll correct it, it's Russ. My name is Russ Garner. My wife is not here with me today. Her name is Janice, Jan. We're natives of we're residents of San Antonio. I'm pretty much a resident of here, but have been around other places quite a bit. My wife is from LaGrange, and she's also traveled a good bit. She's a retired teacher with Northeast School District, and I'm retired from a manufacturing job here in San Antonio some years ago. We also went on the website after a interesting conversation with another gentleman that I had met a few weeks ago. I was curious to discover what the difference was between United Church of Christ and Church of Christ. And I'm very pleased that
It's a good thing you read the fine print.
I was also very refreshingly happy to read about the welcoming nature of the church, and decided that we were actually going to come today together, but my wife is ill, so I'm not going to be staying very long. But she couldn't make it, and I'm really glad that I did. So thank you for letting me share.
Our love to your wife.
With that, I'm going to head out the door. And
Nice meeting you.
Nice
Nice
to
meeting you.
meet you.
Look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
Ross, thank you for being here. If I call you Phil next week, you'll... Real quick, the reason I point them out partly is because we talk about things like Head Start, and not everybody's aware Head Start has about 130 children, 25 staff members, 80% Hispanic, 50% of the 80% do not speak English. So I think in the mind of the congregation, Head Start is very much a part of the outreach of the congregation into the community. What was the other thing we were talking about that people might not be fully aware of? Oh, the Samoan congregation. Yeah, it's kind of a long, short story to explain who they are, but that's a developing relationship. They'll be worshiping now, following us in worship. Comment about Shirley. That's about as fine a thumbnail presentation of finances as I've heard. And Shirley really deserves a round of applause. Last thing, Shirley, the figure I keep throwing around with the church council and so on and search committee is smaller congregations spend roughly 60%, about 2/3 of their budget on building needs. As time goes by, especially those churches in depreciating buildings, and they spend the remainder on personnel. Do you have a figure in your head that gives us a rough idea as we think about our present situation as to how much we spend for pastor and related personnel, and how much we might be spending on building needs as we go along?
I would say we only spend about 1/3 on building.
Okay.
But of course, that's going to be increased this year if we get this roof repair stuff done.
And then, since you're doing so well, can you just comment about the role of Head Start in our financial situation right now? You said a little bit, but how dependent are we on that income?
We're very dependent. Probably about at least 25–30% of our income is from Head Start. So.
Again, we're trying to get a perspective about our present situation as we look toward a call.
And that again is one reason why I try to keep the memorial CD intact and say it's for capital funds, is because if at some time Head Start pulls out of here, we're going to have to use that money to survive. And we have been in the position before in the transition from Pilgrim School to Head Start where we were having, quite a bit of financial problems. So, yes, we need Head Start to survive. If not, we'll have to use our capital, or what I call capital, CD. That's why I try to keep it intact. And also, I'm very tight with money.
Without looking at the numbers, what does that represent?
That's funny. Shirley, Dave had a question.
What does that represent mathematically on a monthly basis? That
What?
income? What is the income on a monthly basis from Head Start?
From Head Start,
Yeah, that you're describing.
their rent was $3,700 plus the utility that we prorate. That did go up in July the 1st, according to the contract, to $4,000 a month on the rent. And it's due to go up again next July, according to our last contract with them. I think we had a 3-year contract, Dorothy? That's correct. And that's what we had negotiated with them.
I think also fairly obvious that it's in our best interest to try to keep them happy. And
Yes.
a satisfied renter facility.
Good conclusion.
And Head Start has been very good to us. When they took over we initially started the contract with them, they made a lot of improvements to that facility back there, all on their own cost. And for several years, they would do a lot of the yard work for us. I mean, they were over there mowing, the guys would come over here and mow. Little things like that they have done on their own. So they're very good renters. We don't have any problems.
Just a question on who funds that. Is that a
Pardon?
city funded program or?
Federal.
It's a federal. And it's the Head Start in this area.
Yeah,
Anxiety.
just to respond to Xavier real quick, that's actually been a topic of discussion based on the federal funding at least since Tom came on board about, well, what happens if, they lose their federal funding. And actually, because they're the only Head Start in the area, they actually have a lot of community support. So it's possible, even if the federal funding drops out, it may still be afloat. Maybe not exactly in the form that it is now, but it will probably not go away entirely. So, it's but that's definitely been. We've had some really, really deep, dark conversations in the council and on-call committee with regard to potential loss of Head Start income. So it's definitely something that we're aware of.
And they have, like I said, they have invested quite a bit of funds in there to begin with. So I think, and they're very happy with the facility now.
Yeah, it's a show facility, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they bring in dignitaries and.
And if funding did drop, we always have the option to negotiate with them, but to keep them here.
Right.
How long have we had them here now?
When did the school go
About,
down?
what is it, about 8 years?
About 8 years, something like that?
Because we're into the third contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3-year contracts.
17 years.
And they.
Seems like yesterday.
The contracts that we have with them do allow their immediate exit should their funding be denied. So I made sure that's in their contract,
I want to ask the relevance of so much time being spent on the finances. Do we have a concern about the call, about being able to?
Yes. Short answer is yes.
Sure, yeah.
Short answer is yes.
I'd like to hear the question so that I know
The
what the
question
answer to.
basically is this a concern? And when you look at the numbers, the size of our church, what can we afford? When we start looking, will we be able to afford, a minister who's going to be needing, say it's a young minister with a young family. The conference office suggests that what we've come up with is not enough. So we just trying to make everybody aware of what we're talking about, what we're thinking, and what our options are, and how would you feel, for example, and this is more, am I moving to futures, Tom?
This might be moving into future a little bit.
But a full-time versus a part-time minister. I'm sure we've never experienced that. So I think those are questions that we've kicked around. So that's why I think this came up as an issue.
So what we're paying per pastor now, is that what we have to play with?
Basically, yes, and the conference is telling us that is far, that's not competitive.
So how short are we?
About $20,000, about $15,000-$20,000. If you go by Don Longbottom's quote, which, I'm not going to say anything about that. But
Good question. And I think it's good for the congregation to be knowledgeable, so that you at least know what we're struggling with or what we could struggle with. But I think also the purpose of when we go into doing missions or getting involved in something, we need to know that that's usually has an expense attached to it.
I know in San Antonio, one of the UCC, I think when they put that information out there as far as the recommended salary, it's a cumulative thing from other cities in Texas as well, including Dallas, Houston, and when you start looking at the cost of living in some of those cities as compared to San Antonio would be a little bit less.
Depends on where in San Antonio they live.
However, they're still saying in order to draw a minister into this facility, they're going to need a certain amount of money just to support their family.
Jenny has
Just a comment on, also, when you think about Dr. Longbottom's role, too, as our conference minister, he really is a minister to the ministers. And so he's already fulfilling his role to look out for our future pastor. And so I think part of his pushing Bethany on the salary is also fulfilling his duty to pastor to our pastor that's not even here yet, to our future pastor, and making sure that they're paid equitably. So his concern of it is already looking to that individual, and not that he's not concerned with us, but his role really is as a minister to our minister. So,
and this is I just came back from Synod, and one of the resolutions we voted on was regarding clergy, newly ordained clergy from minority groups and marginalized groups, making sure that they have economic justice, that they're paid what they're worth, because what's been happening with a lot of newly ordained clergy that either are from a cultural or ethnic minority, or have a disability, or LGBT, or anything like that, they have a hard time finding a congregation, and then when they answer a call and go out somewhere, sometimes things fall apart. Like I heard one person say that the congregation didn't want to, wanted to pay somebody way less what the heterosexual white male predecessor was paid, and didn't want to pay for this person's same-sex spouse. So, so there's some justice issues as we consider this. We don't, especially if we want to look, as we do look to the future, we want to make sure that we're a congregation that somebody wants to go to, where they feel welcome, where they feel like they can actually have their needs met.
So does this resolution include women pastors as well?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's one of the resolutions that was passed. And so, and just, I'm not going to say too much, but a lot of what we're looking towards kind of in the present, where we want to grow, is in line with the larger denomination. For instance, we voted that, the resolution voted is that the whole denomination is an immigrant welcoming denomination. So it's right in line with what Jenny was saying today and the things our congregation has done. And it's also, that's very relevant to our community with the Head Start community, with San Antonio is a pretty significant place to resettle refugees. Lots of interfaith work going on, and especially where we're located. So, yeah, that's something to think about, that we're in a good place to do some of the work that the larger denomination is feeling called to do.
I'll just throw in my thoughts here. Based on our history, the history that I've had with the church, I don't think that's as much a concern unless the membership changes drastically soon. I understand what Jim is saying about, trying to protect the. I don't know even if that's ever been an issue when I was, moderator of council. It was never an issue of, it was where can we squeeze to support our minister more. So it's sad that we're even discussing that.
Yeah, Jerry, in fact, just in the couple years, however long I've been on council, Jerry got a raise actually right before he retired. So
that's
and I think historically it's been, there was raises on a regular basis. So I don't every year that I can think of.
So that's our present.
But I think that when Jerry came on board also, I don't think they have a position description for him very detailed what he needed to be doing as we expect as a minister. And when we come up with some few things for him to do, he hesitated a little bit, I know that. But one of the recommendations is, if you find a minister, please let them know ahead of time what we want from him,
Right.
Whether he's going to take the position or not based on what we want from him,
And that is exactly why that questionnaire that's sitting out there, we want your input so we have some ideas of what you're expecting, what you want from your minister.
How long can we go on the way we are right now without a minister and having Tom? I mean, is there a limitation to how long?
Well,
Answer that.
do you want me to speak to that? Do you want me to speak to that, or do you want me to speak to that, Tom?
They wear out after a while.
So Tom and I actually, Tom and I met with because Tom had requested. Tom's contract, if you didn't know, is only 3 months at a time. So his first 3 months has expired, of course. So we have someone in the congregation who is an expert at personnel and so forth, Lisa Helvig, and we also invited a third person, Heather. So we all met with Tom, and one of the things that we came up with was that to be fair to Tom and to be fair to us, eventually we need to have an exit strategy for Tom. So in other words, Tom is not going to be here indefinitely. Now that said, he has not said, okay, I'm going to leave on this date, or he's not going to leave us hanging. He's not going to leave us in dire straits. The phrase that Tom said is his wife tells him he's having too much fun. So because when you get older, fun has a different kind of effect on itself. I'm a cripple, so I age faster than y'all, so I kind of understand what he's talking about. But anyway, so we as a council and as a call committee are very aware that we want Tom to be healthy here. We want Tom to be happy here. We want him to continue to have fun. So part of what we're doing is we're paying attention to
when he needs
yeah, exactly. He's going to be taking some Sundays off. things like that. But he's not he's not going out the door. So
I think he's doing a wonderful job, and I think
absolutely.
And we're grateful that you're seeing us through the process.
There's another aspect to this that probably should at least be mentioned, and that is there's a lot of activity taking part on behalf of the congregation because of having a student pastor here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's something that is I guess in a real sense, an unpaid benefit for the congregation.
I'm just going to put it out there. I think Jenny's doing a prolonged, protracted job interview, but that's just me.
Question, so we don't get hung up just on personnel and finances. I thought as Allison was talking, there was kind of a potential segue into talking about our location. If I heard you correctly,
Yes.
you mentioned that our neighborhood impacts us in the sense of what we see our mission being. I wonder if anybody has comments about benefits versus, the asset versus, what's the word I'm looking for?
Liabilities.
Yeah, versus liabilities of our present location in the Delview community. It might be good to at least touch on that versus.
Well, I know that some of the interfaith work we've done for things like Maundy Thursday, and there was an interfaith service last year when somebody vandalized a few of the local churches, Gethsemane, and I think the Catholic one too. So that I think that's something that I think is wonderful here, that we do a lot. We collaborate a lot with other neighborhood churches, and I think we can even do more of that to be more part of this community.
There are also, and I don't want to get too much into the future, but there are some larger congregations here in town that are as progressive as we are, if not more so, as far as social action and stuff. We need to be plugged into them, specifically Travis Park Methodist. But
yeah. Well, I think I've been coming here since '90, and I meet people at different times, like at the rummage sale, and even at the daycare that I work at. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I know where your church is. My kids went to Pilgrim when we had the daycare, and we've been a presence." And we get people at the rummage sale that come back year after year, and we do get some new members from that. And so we are a presence in this neighborhood. People know who we are, but we have to keep going out there and reminding them that we're here.
I just wanted to say, I concur with Jenny that we need to have not only a formal presence in the community and with different groups in the community, but we have to have...
would you mind standing up? Thank you.
We need to have the informal presence, that our doors are open to this neighborhood in an informal way. It's a very important feeling. When I advertise for the rummage sale, I don't have to do a lot because they expect it every year. This is something that this community around here, and people from all the different streets, they're just neighbors. They come in. This is the only opportunity, just normal, regular people without any institutional membership just wander in. So I think informal and formal needs to be part of our mission.
The question for me would be, what does it mean to be a part of the neighborhood?
Yeah.
And I think that's an important, and at least for, I've only been here a few years, unanswered question. Because to be a part of the neighborhood where people know you're here is one thing. To be a part of the neighborhood where people are active members and you are joining with the community in an active membership is quite different. And I don't see that in any meaningful way since I've been here, nor do I see the seeds for how that would occur. And so the question I would ask is, if we think we want to be a part of this community in a meaningful, come and join us, that probably means something quite different from what any of us are thinking. I don't know what it would be. Yeah. Probably something quite different from what we're thinking. So, for my money, I've been here, I don't feel like we really are a part of the community. And I know they kind of, well, that's a big topic.
That would be a question to ask of the community.
Right. Why isn't the community here?
Well, there is an opportunity to meet them in that there is an association called Dana which is the Bellevue Area Neighborhood Association. And they are now calling this their home because they are coming and meeting here the second Saturday for the most part of every month. And it is open to anyone.
Right.
The last meeting, there were several people from the church here, and maybe you were at that, I don't know. But yesterday, there was only one person. And so they're more than happy to have people come and listen to them. And you start to hear what their needs are and their concerns. And the numbers fluctuate from meeting to meeting, but it's, what I'm offering is that it's an opportunity to at least meet more neighborhood people. It gives us an option to get to know them a bit.
Yeah, which I think is wonderful. Again, my question is, what would it look like to really be a part of the community, and what would we need to do, assuming we think that's right, to really be a part of the community?
Well, I know the birds try to walk and knock doors with flyers and everything. Yes, several times, and nobody show up to this church. I'm sure probably. My idea is that they are Catholic and they want to go to their own church.
Well, and what we can have is things like, you know, when I went to, I'm sorry, John, I just jumped in there. I have a bad tendency. So at Interim, when I went to a workshop about being a, you know, sanctuary and welcoming, you know, congregation ideas, one of them is just to, you know, kind of offer to meet people where they are in their daily lives and have something to offer that community. We can broaden this to other communities too. Maybe have a legal clinic, or maybe you know, where somebody, a pro bono lawyer or two, can come in and answer people's, you know, legal questions for free, or have something like you know, offer to go with families to their immigration court hearings, or you know, something, all sorts of things like that. Write letters to the editor about, you know, community type issues. We can really get creative with this, and again, try, and you know, with mental health ministry too, we can create a safe space. You have to spend time with people before they open up and talk to you, and we've got to figure out ways to spend time with people besides just the people whose cars are in the parking lot, which y'all are wonderful people, don't get me wrong. But we've got to get beyond that, you know?
But yeah, I hear what Glenn is saying here.
Yeah.
It is the purpose of this congregation to support this community?
Right.
Or do we want this community to support and help this church grow? What do we want to be? If we want to be a community that supports this larger community, then that's one thing. I don't think we're going to get membership out of that.
I'm going to say something unpopular. Okay, this is something I brought up. I think Xavier will agree with me. This is something I brought up in one of the call committee meetings, but I think we're looking too small when we look at Bellevue. I'm not concerned. I mean, I love that we have Head Start. I love that we do what we do with Bellevue because it's very Christian. That's very gospel. That's good. But I'm thinking San Antonio. I'm thinking, you know.
Why can't we expand this mission to serve this community as well as try to grow this church? Why can't we do two things at once?
True.
That, yeah. Yeah.
Jonathan had a comment?
If we have enough people power.
I was just gonna say, we heard some interesting things when we attended that neighborhood meeting that, I don't think some of the church members were aware of. When you hear some of these issues brought out, they're looking at it from terms of being homeowners and residents that actually live here and not somebody that just comes on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so their concerns are things like, damage to their homes from the homeless that they've somewhat experienced because in some ways, I guess the homeless doesn't have a lot of support in this area, and there's a fairly good sized homeless population that's up around Walmart in the Bellevue area, and that's a big concern. I felt like that some of the neighbors expressed because they don't want a lot of the homeless coming from that area moving into, you know, hanging around in these areas. And that's one, as a homeowner, you know, that's one of their concerns. And when you go to those meetings and listen to what their concerns are, it can kind of change your perspective as far as your involvement in the community. because some of their needs are different than what we may perceive their needs to be.
Well, some of their needs are our needs. We don't like vandals either. We don't want potential vandals either, you know.
Well, it is possible. I think we have a lot of expertise within this congregation. We might actually be able to talk to homeowners about things they can do to make their places, their neighborhood more secure. So there is a possibility for outreach, and I hear what is being said about their concerns as homeowners and property values, etc. So there is that, and there is a possibility to have an open forums, you might say, for community, Bellevue community members, occasionally. That wouldn't be a big burden in terms of people power. In terms of outreach to San Antonio, it's going to take, I think, quite a lot of people power.
I communicate with many people online every day that I tell about this church in San Antonio. It does not take that much if you have the right social media connections.
It doesn't take that much for what?
To tell people about this church.
Oh, no, I'm
Yeah,
not talking
yeah.
about, I'm not
get
talking
involved.
about
Yeah.
telling people about it. I'm talking about involvement. I'm talking about going to wherever we need to go. Is it detention center?
Oh,
Is it
yeah.
interfaith coalition meetings? Is it sanctuary community meetings? It takes time, it takes people, it takes commitment. So there's that.
We're on a deadline for several reasons, one of which is the Samoan Congregational will be coming over here. How many people would be interested in second part of just talking about the present situation of the congregation rather than jumping to the future in August? How many would be interested in talking more about our present situation?
So that would be in August, or that'd be in July?
Well, we'll figure that
Okay.
out, but there's a list of things that we haven't even touched on. This has been really good from my standpoint. I'm kind of amazed at this thought process of limited time. We might try breaking into small groups in the next session. Stephanie, you got a comment?
I did. I'm loving this discussion, and I was part of another smaller than this church several years ago who was exploring this idea of moving towards where all the Roosevelt and is out towards the north and northwest. And it's a conundrum, because there you have the people who have plenty of resource, not necessarily a typical, but to put into the church, help build the programs and do all this sort of stuff that we want to have in place. And yet, there are people that we want to minister to, like Jenny was talking about today, who are from society, and they're not going to have the resources to go up to 1604. They're going to be on the
That's
south
true.
side or in this part of town or close to downtown. So, wild idea that came to me just listening to everybody today. Some churches have a mission that would be, where marginalized people might be living. What if we stayed here and improved our facility here and had maybe a Sunday night service out north somewhere as a way of bringing in people who might not know about us because they don't ever come to this part of town? And here we've got land, we could be putting up a tiny house for homeless people, or for giving shelter, or for refugees. We've got all kinds of stuff we can think about and put in place here, but we do need to figure out a way to reach out to people who can join us that have their lives a little more stable, that can help us create the resources to be able to do the kind of ministry that we need.
So let's try to wrap this up.
10 minutes.
So we're gonna, we got 10 minutes?
You got 10 minutes. According to the video.
All right. Well, then I will give you 10 minutes. You've got the missions, you've got the finances. It really depends on where we as a group, as a church, want to go. But I think there's a lot more that we want to discuss about the present, because, you know, I think some people are talking about community in our immediate surroundings. Maybe we, you know, one of the members of the search committee was talking about let's be part of the gay pride parade, and we missed that. Or some of us missed it. So I think as a group, we need to decide where we're comfortable, what we want to do, where we'll put our resources. Part of the trouble that I think that churches have today, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, is that they show up, and this is what Jared used to say to me, when I was moderator, they show up Sunday morning, and they go home. And getting them out during the week, pretty tough. Pretty tough.
The concept of baby steps in initiatives, particularly new ones, like the community initiative, taking a very small step in that direction. When you start an initiative, you don't have to go extreme. You just start baby steps. Maybe something down at the park, or to open up to the community for information and maybe something
But
like
to
that.
some degree, I think Jerry did some of those things. I mean, got involved with CAM, got involved with the school. I mean, I'm not, it's always tough to determine what people will put their energy into. So I think that's, go ahead.
That's a perfect segue for what I was going to say, is that we do have a variety of people here, and we have people who have their pet interests and desire to do something, and I think the best thing we can do as a church is to support those efforts, whatever they may be, with our presence, with our finances, with, just encouraging people, because sometimes that's how things happen. Leadership arises, and we follow, and we support that. So I think that's we can't necessarily plan out the future. Some of it sort of happens organically, and we need to be ready when those things happen.
My only, for me, my biggest problem is that I'm working 6:30 to 6 every day, Monday through Friday, and I'm on the bus. So getting me anywhere, is tough. And I know that, other people are working and busy and having families, so that's another thing to consider, how much time do we actually have? And I'm very supportive of going out and helping people and, doing different things, but with me, it's transportation. And if I'm on the bus going from my house, I'm leaving at the house at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm not getting home till about 8 o'clock at night. And that's a good chunk of time, and it's hard to find time when we all have time to do that together. So that's just...
Maybe we could have like a neighborhood watch and invite everybody, and have some police officers here and everything to help people.
Ring the bell, that'll get them here.
Well, yeah, and ring our bell. And, tell them they can learn what to do and not to do,
Yeah.
Listen with the local community. If
it's hard to pinpoint what this community here needs. We did a disaster thing where we had the fire department, we had the police department, we were giving away free. And no one showed up. So it's hard to pinpoint what it's going to take to get this community into this church.
Was there enough advertisement?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, my point was that we all have busy lives, and they tend to overtake. So we show up on Sunday morning.
I'm totally new here, but I wonder if you guys have done like an interest or expertise inventory, like what people's interests so that we can, and then my second question is, do you host support groups like AA or, support groups around needs or interests? Well, needs, support groups for needs. Do you do that? I mean, that might bring people, and that'd be part of the mission, right?
Right.
I myself would like to start a group like that for the people that I care about, which are, traumatized children and their parents. So.
Okay. That's very.
There are a lot of those. One of the, I was just gonna say, one of the comments at the Sanctuary Cities meeting that Bethany and I went to was, made by a minister in Austin who said that the people who are coming in, like from Honduras and Guatemala and places where they're experiencing political, social, family violence, by the time they get here, this minister in Austin said, there's pretty much all of them are PTSD.
Yes, yeah. Which is my thing.
You wanted to say something?
No, I was just supporting that. I think that's a huge need. Basically, exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, I really like the expertise inventory idea because, well, no, Tom actually was talking a few weeks ago about how we don't really have adult education. We don't have much child education either, but that's another issue. But we don't have a whole lot of adult education here, and part of the way to remedy that would be for different people with different types of expertise to speak relevant to, Christian issues, progressive issues, whatever, with regard to their expertise. That might be a way to do some of that. So that's certainly, I think that's a very important point that we need to think about.
So based on the earlier show of hands, I think August will be more of present and, see if we can get closer to a direction that we want to then move towards the future that fits everybody's needs.
We are right at 58 minutes.
I'm going by a real watch now.
Not by a smart dumb
So, you want to lead us in prayer?
Or do you want Allison to do it since she was at Synod?
Sure. I thought if we do meet again, Beth, you might spend some time telling us about what you're seeing in terms of building use. We've got a certain amount of building use, but that question of how could the facility be used better is out there. Okay, what should we pray for? Give me two ideas. Direction. Guidance. That's good. That's enough. Lord, thank you for this opportunity to be your church. This is surely what you had in mind when you called people together and called the disciples. We pray for a clearer sense of who we are and what we can be, and we pray that your Spirit be among us and guiding us as we listen to each other and attempt to answer those questions. We give you thanks today for this opportunity, for these good people. Amen.
Amen.